Well, hello everybody. This is Patrick Hostis here. Got my daughter Anna moderating the chat room today, and I want to welcome you all to today's Las Vegas Massacre Video Archive live stream discussion. And we got a pretty full agenda here. I want to get through a couple of standing items that I have, and then we'll kind of go into whatever you guys wanna discuss. Let me open up. I want to actually make sure I can see your guys' comments this time, not like what happened last time where I couldn't see anything. So, got my chat open. Volume good? Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and go into a couple of things here. So first off, I wanted to talk about what I was able to find about the damage to door 134. So let's do some stuff here with that. All right. So here, this is some still frames I want to look at here. A lot of you've probably already seen the videos that I've done where I kind of showed, and I got to be honest, I was hoping to find the door cracked when they got up there, because that would be the answer to that would be clear evidence of some kind of shenanigans going on. Unfortunately, when I looked at every single clip, of body cam footage up there, none of them showed any kind of damage to the door. I could show you some examples of that right here with this still frame. Can bring it up. You could see like that right there. That's the butt of a AR right there, AR rifle. But you could see right in there, no damage. Now that does not take away from the fact that the door does look cracked in the fit report and the final report. It does look cracked. I admit it in the photographs. There's no doubt about it to me. But the issue is, I think that if it was damaged, it was damaged after the fact, after the shooting and everything had stopped. So unfortunately, for evidentiary value, there isn't much there. But it does look cracked to me in those photographs. So I'm not gonna dispute that. And here now, this is an interesting still frame right here. Now, what this is prior to them breaching the door to 135, which is right here on the left-hand side behind the wall here. They kind of peeked through the door here. I believe this is Officer Newton's body cam footage. And he kind of peeked around the corner there. Now, what you're seeing here is the door to 134. And then there's the cart with the camera array set up there. Now, this black thing right here is the do not disturb sign that Paddock was, putting on the doors. Now, later on, when you see other pictures like the one I showed you up here, that do not disturb sign's gone. And the reason for that is when they breached the door into 135, it created a lot of air rushing through that area, obviously, and it blew some of the plates and things off of the off that cart right there, and it also blew the do not disturb sign off the door. Now, the reason why that would be important is if somebody kicked the door or something like that, that would have been like one of the first things to fall off, would have been the do not disturb sign. So that was one of the kind of first things that I picked up on, where I was kind of like, I'm not so sure if this is what's going on here. Hold on a sec here. I'm trying to get my phone up here. All right. So that was kind of a pretty big indicator. There's other ones here. That one's not real clear. Let's see. Now that's different going down the hall. All right, let's switch to a different one here. Bring this back up. All right, just give me 1 second. I'm gonna switch to a different video. Okay. All right. Okay, so all right, here we go. Now, this is the latest one where I'll go over some of the still frames on this one here. Now, all of these took place after the first breach into 135 had already taken place. So you can see here, they're kind of walking in there, looking around the corner. Now, this is a pretty good still frame right there when they were walking in. You can see the door a little bit there. Let's see. That's too blurry. That's a pretty good one. And like I said, by this point, the do not disturb sign's been blown off, you know, so kind of what you see is what you get. There's another pretty clear one. These Axon body cameras are way better than the older ones that some of the officers were using. So you can see it's a fair amount of detail. I'm not seeing any damage to the door at this point. And at this point, the officers are going into the room and they're heading towards 134 to the door that leads to 134. There's one. I tried to catch a couple still frames while these emergency lights were flashing, just to see if it would bring out any additional detail. And too blurry, a little too blurry. There's one you could see just right between his shoulder and his hand there, a little slice of it. Not much there. There's another part right there. That's a fairly good one. You can see down there. All right. There's another one with the light I tried to catch. And you can see there's just, it doesn't look like a lot of damage in on that door. I don't see anything. Not to say it wasn't damaged later on, but I'm just saying right at this moment, I'm not seeing any kind of damage on it. And this would be, you know, right when they stormed the room, right afterwards. At this point, they're all leaving out of there, because at this time they're getting calls for, you know, shootings at Tropicana and this, that, and the other things that are heading down the hall. And also, I don't think any of them wanted to go through clearing all that hallway again. So on some of the body camera, you can actually hear a couple of officers bitching about it, saying, "Oh, it was, you know, it's their words, not mine." But they said, "Oh, those assholes want to leave and, you know, be heroes," and so they left like just a few officers here to go through the whole, all those rooms all over again. They wanted them all checked all over again. And just going through some more stills. It's a pretty good one there. So right there. And there's one right there. So I don't want to beat a dead horse, you know, with this one. It just, I'm not seeing, I really kind of wish that there was, you know, I could have found some damage there, because the moment I heard about this on the last live stream, I was really hoping that, I thought, wow, this might be something to this. I want to check it out. And then, so that's why I pulled it up and tried to see everything I could find on it, but I cannot see any damage on it at that time. Now I want to bring something else up. Share my screen here. So now this is a photograph in question here. This is from the Las Vegas police's final fit report on this. Okay, stop. Now you can see right there, it looks like the door is cracked. So, and I'm not disputing that. That's what it looks like. It does look like it's cracked. That's what it looks like to me. But just unfortunately, you know, I can't find anything showing that that was what was going on during the shooting itself, which, you know, that's not, you know, a big deal. It's not the end of the world. So, yeah, Bob's asking, it's weird. Does that mean they kicked it in hours later? I mean, it could have been. I mean, to be honest, all I have is flimsy little theories. You know, maybe somebody fell into the car or some, I have no idea. Some buff guy on the other side of the door tried to open it and it cracked. I really don't know. I don't have any good excuse for why it would have been cracked. It's a mystery. It really is, because I can see in this picture, it obviously looks like it's cracked. You know, 10 did a video about it, talking about how it was cracked, and it was a great thing that for him to point out. And that's a great, just as a side note, it's really a kind of a great way that we can work together. Somebody does a video about a door thing like this, and then I can look into it with my body cam footage, and it all worked together really well. I really like the way it we were able to do this, but I just can't see anything on the body camera footage. KL says, heard about what? I missed the very beginning. Okay, so there was a rumor that, well, not so much a rumor. This picture is from the FIT report right here. And in this photograph, they show this is the door into 134, and it shows what looks like it's cracked. So when I heard that, we got to thinking that maybe, there was somebody using a key card a whole bunch of times to get into the door. I thought maybe somebody tried to get into the door prior to the shooting or during the shooting by kicking it in. So I pulled every bit of body camera footage I could find up in this area, and nothing, I can't find any glimpse of damage to this door at the time that the officers are up there storming the room and searching the area and calling it all clear. Was it damaged later? I have no idea. Does it look damaged? Yes, it looks damaged to me, but it just wasn't damaged during the event as far as what the body camera video shows. And CL says, nothing is simple since day one. Nope. Diane says, hello, how's it going? Moondrop says, maybe Lombardo was there when he found out about the leaked pictures and he got mad and kicked the door in. You know what? That's about as good a theory as any as I got. So maybe that is what happened. Bob says, the door looks fine in body cam, not broken until later, it seems. Yeah, I mean, that's my assumption as well. Why? I mean, I don't know. That's sloppy work, that's for sure. But I mean, if it was broken later, that just kind of says to me that there's not a whole lot of value to it. Let me make sure. Oh, I need to. All right, give me a second. I got to open up something else here. So I'm going to kind of close this discussion out for now. If anybody has anything else they want to discuss on that, we can go over that here in a minute. But give me a second. I want to open up a website here. So we can talk about Miss Danley's possible connections to the FBI. So bear with me a moment, please. Talk amongst yourselves, please. All right, where is it? All right. Okay. Turn this thing off. Close. All right, I think we're ready here. Let me turn my screen save on. Okay, so this report has come out. Feds scramble after Las Vegas shooter's girlfriend lists FBI as place of employment on loan application. She might have been an asset. So we go in there and we start looking. So I'm just going to read through this article just to make it clear. This is from True Pundit. The link is in the video. I did a video on the Vegas Massacre channel. Link's in there. So I'm just going to go through what it says here. It says Marylou Danley, the girlfriend of Las Vegas mass shooter Stephen Paddock, worked for the FBI. According to credit application data, the Australian national reported as part of a loan application. That's the same Danley whose fingerprints were found on Paddock's hoard of ammunition packed into unused rifle magazines. Publicly available intelligence obtained from consumer credit reporting bureaus showed Danley claimed the Federal Bureau of Investigations as her place of employment. Interesting revelation. When contacted Friday, one FBI source said the Bureau might have made payments to Danley, but it was above my level. The source said, referring to access to the FBI's confidential informant participation in payment records. The source has bosses. The source said bosses are concerned with the new revelations about Danley's financial relationships with the FBI. In FBI speak, Danley could have been a paid asset, and concerned means folks are getting ready to cover their own butts if payments were made to Danley either before or after the massacre. Perhaps FBI Director Christopher Wray can shed some light on the matter. Or Danley, if you can find her. It took the FBI days to locate her and interview her after the Mandalay Bay massacre. Danley is an Australian national. She is not a U.S. citizen. Of course, this bombshell intel is coming from FBI sources in the Beltway, not the corrupt Las Vegas FBI field office headed by Aaron Rouse, the same FBI field office that has not been able to pinpoint a motive for the October 1st, 2017 massacre that killed, and they say 57 people here, but I believe the number is 58 people. So I'm disputing their numbers here. Little wonder why the narrative doesn't fit the crime. If the person whose fingerprints are on the ammunition also happens to be on the FBI's payroll. A YouTube video surfaced Thursday highlighting a database search with Danley's apparent employment linked to the FBI as reported by database giant Intellus as well. All right. So here it is. It looks, I have always suspected that there was some kind of weird federal connection here. I didn't know what it was, but this may be an unpopular statement, but you know, I study a lot about police brutality and police body cams and things like that outside of the Las Vegas massacre. I have my other channel, The Glass Shield, where I post a lot of body cameras and stuff. And a lot of the body cameras from shootings from other police departments, you really have to pull teeth to get them released. I mean, somebody has to sue, there has to be FOIA requests, all this and that. The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department has actually been one of the most transparent departments in the United States. That's simply a fact. Within 72 hours of any shooting, they have a YouTube video, and unless the suspect is still alive and there's pending prosecution, they will show whatever body camera footage they have. And they have shown body cam footage that makes them look bad. I'm talking about incidents prior to the Las Vegas massacre that occurred October 1st, 2017. They've been very, very transparent, much more so than you would see with any other departments out there. Okay, now if you watch the first two briefings that the chief of police there, Lombardo, that he gave, he was pretty open and honest. It wasn't until a few days later, at least by my interpretation of it, he seemed open and honest. He seemed to be generally musing with the people there. He wasn't combative. He seemed to be, you know, kind of like, you know, yeah, we're all in this together. This is what we're finding. That was at least my interpretation. But the second the feds started hanging around, boom, he became combative. He became standoffish. He became kind of like bitter. I mean, he'd bite people's heads off. All of a sudden, none of the department agency wouldn't answer any journalist questions. And that's what led to the lawsuit that finally got all these videos released. So why the change in behavior? Why would an agency, the Las Vegas Police Department, which has been known to be, I mean, the cornerstone of agency transparency. I'm not saying they don't have problems and corruption and all that, but I'm saying as far as their body camera footage and their openness of what transpired during officer involved shootings, they have been very transparent for the most part. But this time they weren't. So what's the difference? The only difference I can think of, that what had changed in those 3 days, is the FBI's involvement. What kind of pressure could the FBI have put on the Las Vegas police, meaning Lombardo? What else might there be hidden out there? Consider this. What if Paddock had gotten payments from the FBI? Is that what's going to come out next? I mean, these are serious things to consider. This rabbit hole is getting really, really deep. I'm starting to believe that the shooting may have actually transpired a lot of the way that they're reporting it did. Maybe the real cover-up has to do with the before and even the after. And by that, I mean by the federal involvement with these people before, and then their attempted denying it, you know, stonewalling, basically covering it up after the event. So I want to hear what you guys have to think about that. That's just a theory. I'm just throwing it out there, but I'd like you to guys put in the chat what you guys think about that. I'll read here. Hey, 1005. I see. Oh, No, no problem, man. I talked about your video here a little bit in the beginning, and I just wanted to, in front of everybody, I want to tell you, I think you did excellent work, and I think it's great that you did. And I think it was extremely legitimate what you pointed out, and I like to thank you for that, because we all have to work together like that, and that was a great catch, and it great gave me something to to look into like that. But no, hats off to you, man. It was a great video. Um, Going down here. KL says she's got serious reservations about this report. CL says, yeah, seems odd it wasn't searchable in October. KL says Aaron Rouse was on site the night of the shooting and at least one presser that night, if I recall correctly. And he was, but I don't think they were directly pressuring. This is a theory. I can't prove this with anything, but just in my opinion, the real pressure campaign didn't start until about 3 days into the investigation. But that's just a theory of mine. I don't have anything to back that up. But you're correct. He was there because I have a video of him on there, standing there with his creepy self. Yeah, he was there. 10:05 says, I don't think it's safe to assume that the body camera footage shows everything in the hallway from 22:05 to midnight. Just saying. Well, there's a lot more. There's a lot more officers up there where I haven't seen any body camera footage from. So I have still always said that I don't think all of it's been released, even with the court order. That's in my opinion. Kale says, I don't feel the FBI's presence was the issue. One thing that did occur was being cornered at a presser about the real timeline on a check-in date. I know the Laura Loomer thing. I don't know. He was being a jerk prior to that, though. I mean, if you go back on it, he was stonewalling a little bit before that little incident transpired. I don't know. I don't know. It's possible. Well, I wish I could hop in the guy's head for a second, but can't do that. Bob says Officer McDonald responded to Mandalay Bay at 10:16 for an OIS. Where's the report? OIS is an officer involved shooting, by the way. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I definitely haven't seen that report. Diane Abney says, I personally think Lombardo changed the FBI once. I think what you meant once the FBI was involved. That actually was what made me start questioning things. And 10:05 says, journalists outside YouTube need to do the legwork on Danley. We can only go far, and regardless, journalists have to verify anything we send. Yeah, I mean, problem is, I don't know what journalist outfits we can rely on. It seems like most of them are kind of busy, tearing down the president or serving whatever other agendas they have aside from finding the truth about things, unfortunately. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just saying it's a possible theory that the shooting did occur pretty much the way they're saying. Although there is, and Mr. Burgundy did a very interesting video recently. I wish I would have thought of it earlier. I would have linked to it, where he talks about the pictures from one photograph to the next, how like the body placement, Paddock's body's different, and how shell casings on the floor are different. And one comparison he makes that really sticks out to me, and I noticed this from the very beginning, is in the leaked photographs, the initial leaked photographs that you see, the bipod of one of those weapons is over his left foot. And then the later ones that come out in the fit report, it's off his left foot. It's like not around it. It's not as close to it. And on top of that, in the same photographs, the shell casing locations are different. Weird stuff like that. There is an awful lot of stuff that needs to be answered for that we don't have answers to. That goes without saying. But I don't want to fall into the trap of thinking everything's a conspiracy and then losing sight of the real, where the real dirt is. Because, feds I used to work for the government. And I had friends in counterintelligence, and I know for a fact that they love to feed conspiracy theories and get people to go down the wrong trails. And, they'll purposely allow that, and incite that. because that nothing better than to let yeah, go ahead, go down that trail. It's kind of like the Area 51 thing or Edwards Air Force Base thing. If everybody thinks they're seeing a UFO, they're not seeing our newest drone that we're going to use to kill people remotely. That's kind of what I'm saying. So I want to make sure that we have the evidence to support what we're saying here, and I want to keep focused on the facts. And if this turns out to be true, and I have no reason to think that report isn't true, that Danley did put down that the FBI paid her. I mean, this is the biggest mass shooting in the history of the United States. We as taxpayers deserve answers. So that definitely needs. I want to know: did the feds pay this woman, and if they did, why? And I see no reason why we shouldn't be told the truth about that. And to even bigger question in my mind is, did Stephen Paddock get any kind of payments from the FBI or any other federal agencies? Because I suspect the answer to that question might be a little bit more shocking. All right, let me see what we got going on here in the chat. Oh, here we go. Moondrop says maybe we should get Stormy involved in this research. Might get in the news then. I agree. Maybe that'd be a way to get some, we could get CNN interested in it again. By the way, just as a side note, I noticed that that horrible shooting that happened today at the a gaming down, I forget where it was at, but the shooting I believe in Florida, there was a shooting at a Madden gaming event, and I didn't see the exact part of it because I was getting ready. I was doing research to come on the air today, but it looked like CNN had screwed that up again, and they were saying who was the organizer, like some agency, and it turned out they weren't the organizers. They just happened to have one player that was there. But anyway, just pointing out, CNN sucks. They can't get anything right, even something like that. But anyway, back to the subject. And KL says the stonewalling, I am sure, stemmed from being put in a very difficult position and not given full disclosure on all the details. Diane Abney says, and I'm not saying I'm right, that's just how I perceive things. Yeah, no problem. Everything I'm saying is how I perceived them too. I mean, if I have actual facts, I'll tell you, but a lot of this is just my feelings on things. Bob says, shooting at other locations goes against the narrative. And there are 911 calls that talk of shootings in other areas. I can't just wish that away to make, and I'm not going to. I mean, we have to confront the evidence no matter where it points. So that's true. There are lots of reports of shootings in other areas, and I think we've got a lot of more research we need to do on that. We, meaning me, also. Like Team Vacuum, follow the whirly birds. Ginny Ridges says, on the video where where they breached the door, the one officer had gloves on. Does anyone know if that's the same officer that you can later hear? Are those your gloves? I think those gloves might have been Levi's, but I'm not sure. And CL says the victims' families and survivors deserve answers. Exactly. They very much do. Yeah, CKL says the gloves belong to Levi Hancock, which was the SWAT gentleman with the shotgun on his backpack. 1005 says glove on the ground in the hallway is Levi Hancock's. He got it back. I looked hard as on the bar, only one glove existed present. So, but do you guys want to look at anything in the report? Let me know. Any other, because that was basically my only two agenda items. We're talking about the Fed connections and the door to 134. So anything you guys want to discuss? Or anything you want to go into? Let me get my screen. So I'll just kind of go through this. You guys want me to look at something or talk about something, let me know. Give me 1 second, though. I got to fix my headphones here. Much better. Awful lot of drills I've noticed, and drill bits and stuff in this room. Just an observation. Diane Abney's asking, has anyone ever figured out who Corey is? The Corey that they're talking about on the Canine Sergeant's body cam in there. Look at here. I don't know. Look at that. So those are polymer tip magazines. Those are the Surefire mags that are 100-round magazines. I actually tried one of those with, I don't have any of those, but I tried one of those with my AR. It made it weigh a ton, so they're not very practical in my opinion, but I guess for what that sicko was using them for, or somebody was using them for, it was practical. There's the snorkel thing. Pieces of wood. And see, like, this is the one I'm talking about. Compared to the other one that was released, that was leaked, actually, right after the shooting happened, this weapon is actually over his leg, which would be weird, which would mean he'd have to have shot himself with his foot under this weapon. I don't know. It's one of those weird inconsistencies we've got no response about or no information about. And since they've decided to pretty much close the investigation, I guess we'll never hear anything about it. Unless we do the research ourselves, or like 10 points out, the media somehow all of a sudden gets interested in it. 1005 says, a commenter minutes ago told me a door handle cutout is in the inventory log of state affidavits, the handwritten log. I'm going to video that sooner than later. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Jenny Ridges says, was the gloves Paddock wore the same gloves the officer wore? No, I don't believe so. But I honestly don't know. My opinion, it's not, but I can't say that with certainty. Here's the computer monitor. And the M-Life card. Mm-hmm. And another thing that Mr. Burgundy pointed out was like where they show all the weapons down there and they list all the different AR platforms and things, AR-10s and stuff he has there. A lot of them are inaccurately labeled. Like they'll say no magazine in it and there'll be a magazine in it, or they'll say no optics and there is optic. I don't know what. It was very poorly done. I mean, not a lot of attention to detail. I can tell you that much. And I'm saying this as somebody who's I've worked for the government my entire adult life, so I know something about writing reports. And yeah, this one's wasn't gone through very thoroughly. A bunch of mags in there in his vehicle. On 2020, CL saying on 2020 they said magazines everywhere. There was a lot of I mean, I don't. They were all seem kind of stacked. I don't know. Look at this. All right, now I want to read these like closely and see if they say. So like this one's correct. Okay, 100-round mag. That's the Surefire mag. I'm just curious how many errors I can find. Bump stock. That's a 40-round mag. EOTech. Yep, that one's right. 100-round. See, like on this one, he had no. And I hate to point this out again, but this is the type of weapons that are sold at for arms deals with absolutely nothing on them. No sights or optics. No sights or optics. .38 revolver with 4 cartridges, 1 expended. And this is another thing he points out, Mr. Burgundy did in his video, that the hand actually seems to move on this weapon as well. This is the buttstock of a weapon that he fell on, apparently. And this is that weapon that looked like it was over his leg. Now it looks like it's completely off of his leg. And they say it has a 25-round magazine in it, and it doesn't. It has nothing in it. So there you go. It's AR-10 308 762, by the way. There's another one. All right, now I'm going to look at your guys' comments here. Diane Abney said, Kale, I thought that was Machko. His first name is William, but the middle name could be Corey. I used my middle name. KL says, canine dog that sniffed vehicle didn't smell anything on it before it entered the vehicle. Interesting. Yeah, I heard that as well. That, yeah, they didn't alert on anything. 1005 says, magazines were everywhere. Kale Machko was in front of the door, and they, or this Kale saying Machko was in front of the door and then went to start clearing rooms, then was told to station in front of the door by Hancock. Kale Corey is without a doubt the one with the floppy camo hat on. Anybody have any idea how we... so Moondrop says, anybody have any ideas of how we can get the attention of the media, read these anomalies and all the questions we still have, especially regarding the report, which has errors? You know, that's a really good question. How could we get this interesting into, you know, interest into the media again? You know, one of the really only ways to attempt to do that I've seen done is you basically do some kind of a documentary with a great amount of research, you know, and the problem with that is you need investors and things like that. But usually if you do a really good documentary, I mean, look at after the JFK assassination, you know, Mark Lane did that film, which the name of it eludes me at the moment. It was the one right after the... Yeah, anyway, Mark Lane did something, and it basically opened up the whole JFK conspiracy thing and opened everybody's mind to the possibility that, wow, maybe it wasn't the way that the Warren report said it was. And it started everybody re-examining the assassination. And then you see again with JFK when Oliver Stone released that film. Now that wasn't a documentary, but it was something that got interest in the media and with other investigators. So, to succinctly answer your question, I think the only way to do it was you'd have to make some kind of a pretty well budgeted film documentary type thing that points these questions out in an effective way and get it distributed out to audiences. I think that would be enough to get people to look at it. So I think like right now we're in the information gathering point, putting together the stuff, because nothing could be worse if we went all in with some theories and they made us look like fools. So we've got to really make sure, you know, everything's on there. But I think ultimately what it's going to take, if we find, you know, especially when it comes to questions about FBI involvement or federal government involvement, it's going to take some kind of a documentary or something like that to wake people up and get a real movement and get people to lean on their representatives to get us some answers. So yeah, my little rant. That's the only thing I can think of. If anybody else has any other ideas, I'm perfectly willing to hear them and read them out to everybody. But it's just, you know, as well as I am, the partisan politic crap takes the news, you know, cycle, basically all 24 hours of it. And if it's not currently bleeding, they don't really care. They don't follow it, and they don't, you know, the goldfish attention span of people doesn't help the matter either. And usually that's what, you know, with these type of media events, that's what people hope for, is that, you know, meaning the people involved, the law enforcement agencies, they just kind of hope that people will forget about it and move on. But this event was, I don't know this for a fact, but I imagine this is probably the most well videotaped crime in human history, or at least one of them. It has to be pretty close. So if they think this is just going to go quietly into the night, they've got another thing coming. And going through some more of this report here. And this is stuff that they found at his house. He's got a lot of nice weapons. Mossberg. FN57. That's a really nice pistol. And another place, more weapons he has. Moondrop, final report says September 28th that Paddock began gambling at 10:18 and continued gambling into the next morning, yet someone was in his room. And Moondrop also says, have we found any answers to that one yet? I have not. KL says, how about we get the court of law holding Las Vegas Metro Police Department accountable for release actually holds them accountable? Yeah. I was actually shocked that judge voted in the favor of the media to release the footage. I actually thought that was shocking. I thought they were going to block it. I really did. And here's all the different type. And they're saying the different types of ammo they found. I've gone over this before. Frangible, incendiary, armor piercing incendiary ammo, which I believe they hemmed up that one guy for selling to him. What are these here? Recovered in room, this is firearm forensic analysis. Recovered in room 32135 and 134 were 1,057 shell casings. Forensic analysis was completed on all of the shell casings that were recovered. Of the rifles recovered from which room 32135 and 134, 14 were found to have been fired. The following table indicates which guns were fired and how many times. So this one was fired 100 times, and it goes down the list here. LMTs fired twice. The Ruger's fired 6 times. Daniel's Defense, Colt. So he reloaded on this one, presumably. Interesting. And this one. So, interesting. Let's CL says, what about air traffic? Wasn't that denied? I do not know a whole lot about the air traffic that night, aside from the fact that they did shut down the runway after a while, but you still had helicopters flying around the area, tour helicopters, the Las Vegas police helicopters still going around. That's about all I know for sure. 1005 says, unite creators into one highly produced effort and pick, say, 3 issues, but too many creators are happy with the 1.8 thousand views, then we shop it. Won't happen. Too divided community. Petty politics. Agreed. It's unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of pride. That's the thing, is you kind of gotta, when you're doing an endeavor like this, you got to be willing to swallow your ego sometimes if you get proven wrong. And sometimes it's hard for people to do that, and they stick to their guns, and it can make it hard when you try to do joint ventures with people. So I totally agree with you, 10. What is this? Locked interrogators. Oh, yeah. Each card is automated to open the room door associated with that guest. Yeah, I wanted to look up those cards. Some sweeps. Dang it, that was the thing I was going to look at today and I forgot. What is this? All right. KL here says, FOIA requests for flight records denied based on ongoing FBI investigation. How odd, though, because Rouse states the local authorities are the ones in charge. They just assisted. Yeah, that is very interesting. All right, where am I looking? Okay. Oh, I hate it that it's sideways like this. So which room door is this? This is for 135. So these are all the times that door was opened and closed, apparently, according to them. So I'm trying to tilt my head on the television screen to read this here. Deadbolt released. You can see it. No card access. Interesting. Now, wasn't there one for, are these, Yeah, these are all for 135. Now 134. Okay. Oh, and they twisted it the other way. That's really annoying. You know, just hit landscape or whatever the hell. It's, ping from the server. Deadbolt thrown. Doors closed. Deadbolt released. Deadbolt thrown. Doors open. Doors closed. Doors open. Doors closed. Doors open. Doors closed. Just goes on and on and on. Air, no access to this room. Yeah, I really need to go through these open and close logs sometime after when I haven't been looking at body camera footage all day, because this really is interesting to look at what went on with those door locks or with the doors in general prior to the shooting. It's really worth looking into. And also the shooting at other areas. I've got an awful lot of videos that talk about other shootings in another area, you know, but there's, of all the ones I've seen, I haven't seen anything concrete. I haven't seen like bullet holes in glass at the Tropicana or any of these other places that, you know, would be, oh yeah, there was definitely a shooting there. It's always these kind of, you know, abstract things that, oh yeah, I heard this, but that's not enough. We need actual evidence. But I don't know. I really want to go through these lock reports on these doors sometime. Has anybody gone through these with like a fine-tooth comb on here, just out of curiosity? Oof, oof. All right, let's see. See what you guys are saying. 1005 says hotels have super key that can open a deadbolt. Google how a hotel opens deadbolt doors in emergency. Daniel M says you should have a rotate button up there. I do it with Firefox. What is that? Oh, you guys talking about something else. Oh, the rotate on the fire. Yeah, I'll mess with it later. Moondrop says he seems to do a lot of checking on the doors when he leaves and when he comes back to the room. Yeah, in KL says someone did a lot of checking anyway. Yeah, so I think that's definitely an area. I mean, why? And so there's just no cameras in those hallways. Is that what we're led to believe? I mean, I don't know. Maybe there isn't, but I kind of find that hard to believe that, you know, there's absolutely no cameras in there. And, you know, I hate to beat a dead horse again, but they said they've got all these hundreds of sightings of Paddock, yet I have never seen, I have not seen near the number of sightings. You know, they haven't released a fraction of the sightings of Paddock they say they have. And I haven't seen any of the video from the Ogden. So there's a lot of stuff that still needs to be released. That's for sure. So that's that. So I don't know. I'm gonna keep on keeping on, and I'll keep putting together, you know, more of these videos and putting out more of the raw footage and body camera footage that we got out there. But I want to start looking at these logs a little bit more, and I also really want to start looking into the shootings at the other place. I either want to confirm that or just, you know, do away with it and not be distracted by it anymore. But I did, you know, like I've said, I've got a pretty good video archive on this stuff, and I have an awful lot of video of people who say they were there and they claimed that they heard this, that, and the other thing. And I think I want to start going through that and see what I can find and putting that out on the channel here so everybody can see it. And, you know, because there is still loose ends out there that we've got no answers to, like all the other shootings at the other areas. We need to start confirming or discounting them. Or, you know, maybe, you know, like it is with any kind of a mass, you know, emergency. Maybe people were panicking and thought they heard things that they didn't, or maybe there was actually other shooters out there. One way or the other, we've got to do the best we can to see if we can come up to some kind of a positive conclusion on that, if it did occur or if it did not. If this was just a single shooter which was Paddock, who snapped for whatever reason. But the cover up and all the things that they've done leads me to believe there's something that they're hiding, and I truly believe that something probably has something to do with the relationship between Paddock himself and the feds. Probably not even so much with Danley. I'm sure they didn't want that. They don't want that out either. But I really truly suspect that there's some kind of a federal relationship with Paddock. That's the only thing in my mind that would explain their behavior and the way that they've been acting. I initially thought that maybe they were trying to hide that it was multiple shooters and this and that, and maybe Islamic terrorists and all these type of things. But now I'm starting to think and if you look at how the FBI operates and how they try to cover their own rear ends, this would be pretty well in keeping with their standard tactics. So I could totally believe that this is just one giant CYA at this point, which it could be, but I could also be wrong. There could be a bunch of other shooters out there, as far as I know. But just following my intuition at this point, something tells me there's definitely something there with the federal connection to this, to Paddock. All right, let me see what y'all are saying. Little Monster Pants Waptech says the 3 women that were supposedly in Paddock's room were just overbooked and probably didn't even know Stephen Paddock. Has anyone else verified that true? And if yes, where can I find that? KL then says that is not verified and honestly quite ridiculous. They were registered with Stephen Paddock. Never heard of registering layered like that. So I guess, yeah. I don't know very much about how the reservations work, but I can't imagine they would register layered like that. It doesn't make sense to me either. CL says, I'm just going to say ridiculous. Diane Abney says, I think it's ridiculous too, but some people know it all and have an explanation for everything. If you believe in that's what you say if you believe in the narrative. Speculation, CL. And 1005 says, who wrote the report? A cop or Mr. Waptek? The cop, did he lie? I doubt it. Daniel M says, well, there was enough room keys for 4 people. Yeah, that's a very good point. He definitely had more, from what I heard, there were enough room keys out there. KL says MGM allegedly says computer glitch and had canceled from 134. Problem is they were on 135. No mention of 134 on radio. Very interesting. And there's another dimension to consider here. So if you take out the federal government's possible involvement, then you've got the Las Vegas casino industry, which makes their lifeblood is tourism and getting people to go there and thinking this place is safe and booking rooms. And MGM Grand certainly doesn't want that being messed up. So that's a whole nother powerful block of people that don't want this any more light shined on to this. So we're basically battling against the feds, the local cops, a media that doesn't care. We've got a lot of different enemies, and the entire tourism industry of Las Vegas. So, yeah, we've got some formidable adversaries when it comes to trying to get some actual answers out here. But you know what? That's fine. I like a challenge. We'll just keep plodding ahead. And like Daniel points out, MGM owns half of the strip, which they do. So, yeah, they don't want any more attention on this. And I've even mentioned this before. I've always found it a little interesting how the massive anti-gun movement never really cropped up around this shooting, and did all their little protests and all that stuff about it. And it just kind of seems to me they were told not to keep this one in the headlines for whatever reason. But that's just my suspicion. A lot of these anti-gun groups, I think, were probably told through word of mouth or somehow to probably, you know what, let's keep this one out of the headlines. Moondrop is asking, is it true that Paddock only had around 50 million left? I don't know how much he had left, or 50,000. I have no clue how much he had left. Let me check on a document, though, actually, real quick. Let's see if I can. Give me a second. Talk amongst yourselves, please. I'm going to try to find out how much money he actually had left. Anna, you don't remember where that is, do you? The money part? Okay. Yeah, and that's another 50,000. I think he had more than that. 500,000 is what the report says. Okay. But I will tell you, there's no way on God's green earth that is true. Yeah, and then Daniel M points out, what about the properties? Pete says, what up, homies? Hmm. Well, I know one thing because I looked it up. I mean, he did pay off his debts before going on his little rampage or whatever here. So that part I can confirm, or at least I can confirm that's what's been reported. What? That's interesting. Firearms and narcotics group. FANG. That's neat. So yeah, I don't know. I know that I know Lombardo and all them really wanted to go with that theory that they wanted to keep it going that it's money loss and this and that's what drove them over the edge. And I don't know though. I don't know how much I buy that one. And then they mentioned in the report numerous times that he felt like crap and always complained about not feeling good. So I don't know. And I'm not so sure if those are astroturf type explanations they threw in there. I kind of suspect they are. Chaos says page 111. Take a gander down there. Not a user-friendly report, this one. Here we go. Financial analysis. All right, hold on. I'll share my screen here. Share screen. Financial analysis was completed on Paddock and revealed a large decrease in financial liquidity. Investigators found 14 bank accounts associated with Paddock in September 2015. His bank account totaled just under $2,100,000. By contrast, in September 2017, the amount had dropped to $530,000. With most of the decline occurring in 2017, over $600,000 was paid to casinos. Approximately 130,000 was associated with Danley, and over 170,000 was paid to credit card companies. Paddock made almost $95,000 in firearms and gun-related purchases. One of the last checks Paddock wrote was to the IRS for $13,000. Interesting. I could tell you one thing. The last group of people I'd be thinking about reimbursing while I was catching a bullet train would be the freaking IRS. But hey, different strokes for different folks, I guess, huh? 3 different amounts. KO says 3 different amounts paid to Marylou, 2 different in one report. And Moondrop says could be why he wanted to kill himself. And Pete wants to talk about the vibrator, which I'm assuming you're talking about the one mentioned on the Canine Sergeant's body camera. Yeah, I don't know. And Daniel M says, so this goes to motive then. He lost all his cash gambling. I mean, maybe he's pissed at he wanted to really screw over the hotels. I suppose it's possible. He did his little slip and fall thing and lost the case. I don't know how bitter he was on that one. Pete has the report almost memorized. And Diane Abney says he seemed to be good at making money. I'm sure he could make more. I don't believe he did this because he lost some money. That's kind of my feeling too. I think if he really wanted to make money, he could have done it. I think he was just kind of done for some reason. And Little Monster Pants says Paddock had furniture like card tables and chairs, hardly any personal things, not much in the entire house, and it didn't look like it was because they were packing to move. Let's see. And Kale's saying the case isn't property. She doesn't think Kale doesn't believe the amount is the amount is not correct in the report. There is no way. And she says not to mention they had stated about 5 million in December and January. And Daniel M says hard to believe a gambling addict would send his last 150,000 away to his gal. And if he thought the casinos were cheating him, why would he pay off casino debts? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, exactly. Those are the last group. And yeah, why the hell would I want to pay those people back? You know, I mean, I'm not trying to be an ass or anything, but I mean, isn't one of the bonuses if you plan on offing yourself is you don't have to deal with this financial crap anymore? So why the hell? I don't know. That doesn't make much sense to me. I mean, he wasn't married to Danley. They weren't gonna. I mean, did he think they'd come after her? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Let's see. And Pete says, if my fingerprints were on those bullets, I'd be 30 FBI deep in my anus. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I love how that one was just airbrushed away. The fact that her fingerprints are on the damn bullets. I mean, if I went to my wife and I said, and I've talked to you guys before, like we're kind of survivalists and have that kind of stuff. But if I went to her and dumped a bunch of magazines on her and said, "Hey, fill these, would you?" First thing out of her mouth would be, "Why?" And I guess his excuse was, "Well, these guns shoot a lot of ammo." But I mean, come on, a little bit of common sense, please. I don't know. 10:05 says this guy knew for months he was going to do this. Who the hell helped him? Mm-hmm. Moondrop says not to screw over hotels. He was a narcissist. Gambling was the reason people catered to him. KO says the report stating he has made good on his debts would definitely take the heat off the casinos, taking any blame here on that count anyway. That's a good point. And Diane Abney says, right, I'm not paying anybody anything if I plan to go out like that. Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's probably very few, bonuses to blowing your own head off. So why would you deny yourself one of the rather better ones? I don't know. Just doesn't seem rational to me. But again, shooting a whole bunch of people from a hotel is not a rational act either. 10:05 says, I think he paid debts to appear normal, including his last drive to pay casino debts. Are they on me? Maybe he thought. Or are they on to me? Maybe he thought. So 10 saying maybe he did it in a way to keep any suspicion off of him. KL says they retracted their claim in the final report. Oh, I think you're answering somebody. I won't get involved in that one. All right. This is the interesting part here in the report. Suspectology. Suspectology is the gathering of information to help establish the identity of a suspect and motive in the crime, blah, blah, blah. So it goes through and says it's not complete, and it'll be released by the FBI at a later date. And so they interviewed, and I went through these before. I'm not going to go through them again, but they give little outlines of their of the interview with various people that knew him, like Marylou, who's seems to have a connection to the FBI. Maybe somebody she knew actually did the interview, in there. Maybe it was because it says right here, Photos-Danley was interviewed on several occasions after the incident. Present during the interviews were various investigators with the Las Vegas Metro Police Department and the FBI. So maybe they were like somebody who helped her earlier, when she was filling out her HR paperwork or something, when she became a paid and, employee of the FBI for some reason, just pointing that out. Let's see what y'all are saying. Moondrop says even though he killed a whole bunch of people. I don't think he wanted people to think he wasn't as good a gambler as he claimed. A gambler not often to tell people when they lose. And Charlene just came on. Hello, how you doing, Charlene? And Moondrop says, therefore, he paid off all his debts. So, yeah, I don't know. That really rubs me the wrong way, though, the fact that the feds had a relationship. At least all the evidence coming out seems to point to that they had a relationship with this woman, and they didn't even have the decency to, be open about that or anything. And that, I really believe that Paddock, I'm sure they've airbrushed as much of his history out of existence as possible, but I'm almost willing to bet at some time or another he probably cashed some kind of a check that said FBI or some Fed agency on there. And I'm guessing that was probably pretty recently, or recently before he did what he did. All right, 10:05, late dinner tonight. Enjoyed your program. Thank you for investigating this. That goes for all heroin. Thanks a lot, Tan. Thanks for coming on here, man. Let's keep in touch and work in the future, and contact me anytime, and I'll keep doing these live chats every now and again so we can have discussions on what's going on. So please stay in touch, brother. Love your work. All right. So yeah, and it looks like I gotta go too here in a minute. So I think I'm gonna shut this down here in a moment. Oh my, it's not enough hours in the day. So anyway, man, I love I think that the biggest place to watch right now, or one of the biggest issues I really want to find out about, is the FBI connection with them. But it's just, I don't know how much we could do, on our level to look for that, because the feds are a lot better at keeping secrets than we are getting them, unfortunately, sometimes. The only people that really have any chance of getting that information would be mainstream media outlets that have informers in there. But the odds of them taking time off from sniping at Trump or whatever BS that they're involved in to actually look into this case is pretty remote. So I don't know how much help we can expect from them, but hey, you know what? We'll keep pressing on and keep doing the best we can. But I truly believe the connection that we need to be looking at probably more than likely has to do with the federal financial connections between Stephen Paddock and our own government. All right, guys. Well, I want to thank every single one of you for being on this time, being on this live stream and having this discussion with me. We'll do another one probably about midweek, maybe on Wednesday or so. I'll see. We'll see what other information develops. New stuff always pops up. I don't even bother coming up with an agenda right at the every single time, because new things are going to come up. You guys are going to do more work and new things are going to pop up, or I'll see something new. We'll always have new things to go through. But I think we've done a lot of work and gotten really far, considering the limited resources we all had to do this. And so we keep it going, and we'll keep going with this. And if the government doesn't want to give answers to those families, we will. And however long it takes. And if we, speaking personally, hey, if I got to write a book about this or do a documentary, and I bet you a lot of folks on this live stream with me would probably help me with that. And we could all work together and get this done. But Right now, let's keep on collecting information. Let's keep vetting this information. Let's keep going through it. Let's find out what's fact and what's fiction for ourselves, and not just take the authorities' word for it. All right. All right. Thank you all. God bless, and I'll talk to you all soon.